Here's the story. So this is another great part of this story, that they're uncovering unbelievable malfeasance and intimidation and censorship by the government, which works for corporations and billionaires. And here's another one. Listen, this should be jaw-dropping to you.
Just quickly, we found just yesterday a tweet from the Virality Project at Stanford, which is partnered with a number of government agencies on Twitter. So
they found an email from this NGO, non-government organization at a college, but they're actually getting funded by the government. So they're basically the government. They're doing the government's work because they're getting money from the government, and they're working with the government to censor. And here's what he found out.
Where they talked explicitly about censoring stories of true vaccine side effects and other true stories that they felt encouraged hesitancy. Now,
it's just from true.
Yeah, so they use the word true 3 times in this email. And what's notable about this is that it reflects the fundamental misunderstanding of this whole disinformation complex, anti-disinformation complex. They believe that ordinary people can't handle difficult truths. And so they think that they need minders to separate out things that are controversial or difficult for them. And that's totally contrary to what America's all about, I think.
Just briefly.
So what he's saying is they found out that this group working in conjunction with the government to censor, there was an email where it said, hey, we want you to censor stuff about the vaccine, even if it's true. In fact, we want you to censor true stuff about the vaccine because it'll create vaccine hesitancy. So they get to decide. And what he's just said there is that what I've said here, it's like they think you are too dumb to handle misinformation or even accurate information, and you need someone else to pre-read it. Someone else who has some kind of superpower because it won't affect them, but they can stop it before it affects the rest of us because we're so mush-brained, we can't handle it. But they have handpicked people who can handle all kinds of information, apparently, and it doesn't affect them. But it affects us because we're so mush-brained and stupid. And he's saying that they don't want people to even know accurate information. Aaron, what would you like to say about that?
No, it's exactly right. It reveals the contempt these people have for their voters, that they feel as if they don't have the capacity to make up decisions for themselves. And so that's why we have to keep information from them. And what they're actually really afraid about is that when people learn the truth, they won't go along with the policies and the interests of power. And so they want to keep the truth from them. And they pretend as if we have to do this to protect them from themselves and from disinformation. It's all done as a racket to justify ruling over people and censoring the information that they don't like.
So that should be chilling to people. That and I've seen the email. It's in his Twitter thread of them saying, we don't want accurate, true stories about vaccine injuries. We don't want accurate, true stories about the fact. They wanted to censor truth, and they just say it. And I think this is the last one I'll show. So there's this guy, Daniel Goldman. He's a representative. I think he's from New York. And he grew up, he's a rich kid. He's one of those guys who wants power now. He can't really accomplish anything on his own. And so he was an asshole to those 2 reporters, Michael Schellenberg and Matt Taibbi, and he wanted them to admit that Russiagate was real, and they wouldn't. And then at the end, he said that there's no emails from the Biden administration asking for censorship. And here's how Jim Jordan, the chairman of the committee, handles it.
And even with Twitter, you cannot find actual evidence of any direct government censorship of any lawful speech.
So again, these are people not upset at the malfeasance of the government and social media and the FBI and they're not upset at that. They're upset that you're even saying that something's wrong. That's what they're upset. You can't find any conclusive evidence, which there's nothing but evidence, but here's.
And when I say lawful, I mean non-criminal speech, because plenty of speech is non-criminal.
I'll give you one. Gentleman's time to expire. I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the following email from Clark Humphrey, Executive Office of the Presidency, White House Office, January 23rd, 2021. That's the Biden administration, 4:39 a.m. Hey, folks. This goes to Twitter. Hey, folks, wanted to use the term they used the term Mr. Goldman just used. Wanted to flag the below tweet, and I'm wondering if we can get moving on the process for having it removed ASAP.
Boom.
That is.
Could you read the?
So there you go. That it was from January 23rd at 4:30 in the morning or something like that. So I don't know what Biden's been president for like 5 seconds, and they're already sending emails asking for censorship. And Glenn Greenwald says that's Dan Goldman, just elected to Congress from Manhattan, is the perfect symbol of the Democratic Party. The heir to the billionaire Levi Strauss fortune, unearned net worth of $250 million, went to D.C. Sidewell and Friends, Yale and Stanford, worked for the Mueller investigation, and now he does that. He worked for the Mueller investigation, and now he's in government with power. Anything you'd like
Jimmy,
to say?
I don't think he worked for Mueller. He did work. He was the lead Democratic impeachment lawyer during Trump's first impeachment, when Trump got impeached after he briefly paused some weapons to Ukraine.
Oh, okay. So he didn't
And Goldman,
okay.
I don't think he was on the Mueller team, but honestly, he was on something just as
Horrific.
dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Because recall that impeachment set the tone, or helped set the tone, for Democrats to normalize political culture in which we have to criminalize diplomacy with Russia, and we have to use Ukraine for a proxy war against Russia. That's when Adam Schiff got up on the House floor and said, the United States aids Ukraine so that we can fight Russia over there. We don't have to fight Russia here. And so Dan Goldman was a big part of that because he was their lead impeachment lawyer. And that's when they were bringing people like Alexander Vindman to talk about how we needed to keep using Ukraine as a proxy against Russia. And that helped bring us to the moment that we're in right now. So Dan Goldman is a neocon Democrat. And as Glenn said, inherited a fortune of something like $250 million. And on top of that really funny moment with Jim Jordan, there was, as you mentioned, this moment where Goldman is trying to get Taibbi to basically pledge loyalty to Robert Mueller's findings and say, do you dare challenge the indictments that Robert Mueller made against a Russian troll farm and against alleged Russian hackers? And Goldman wouldn't let Taibbi answer. But one of the things Taibbi was trying to say is that Mueller dropped one of those indictments. So how can you expect to pledge blind loyalty to one of these indictments if even Mueller dropped one of them? Because the troll farm actually challenged that case in court.
Yeah.
And rather than defend that case, Mueller just dropped it and ran away. On top of the fact that, unless you live in a dictatorship, it's okay to challenge the government when they put claims inside an indictment. It doesn't mean it's gospel. But Dan Goldman is revealing himself to be an authoritarian who believes you shouldn't challenge the holy state when it puts some claims inside an indictment. That's who the Democrats are now.
Do you want to see the tweet that they're referring to that was so the tweet he's referring to here?
And even with Twitter, you cannot find actual evidence of any direct government censorship of any lawful speech. And when I say lawful, I mean non-criminal speech, because plenty of speech is non-criminal.
I'll give you gentleman's time to expire. I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the following email from Clark Humphrey, Executive Office of the Presidency, White House Office, January 23rd, 2021. That's the Biden administration, 4:39 a.m. Hey, folks. This goes to Twitter. Hey, folks, wanted to use the term they used the term Mr. Goldman just used. Wanted to flag the below tweet, and I'm wondering if we can get moving on the process for having it removed ASAP.
Boom.
That is.
Could you read the below tweet?
And then if we can keep an eye out for tweets that fall in this same genre, that would be great. This is a tweet on the very issue that Thomas.
Can you just, for the fullness of the record, can you read because I've not seen this. Can you read the tweet that it's referencing?
I don't have the tweet here with me, but the gentleman's point was, tell us, you said no time did government try to tell Twitter to take that, to explicitly remove something. And
no, I said explicitly remove lawful speech. Lawful speech. We're going to conflate. The First Amendment is not absolute.
Twitter, this is something from Robert Kennedy Jr.
So he's trying to say that it was an unlawful speech that they took down. Want to know what it was? Here's the tweet. The tweet is from RFK Jr. and it says, Hank Aaron's tragic death is part of a wave of suspicious death amongst elderly closely following administration of the COVID vaccine. He received the Moderna vaccine on January 5th to inspire other Black Americans to get the vaccine. That's what they wanted taken down. And that's what that guy thinks is unlawful. That's against the law. Now, what do you think of that, Aaron? Let me bring in a real journalist.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, that's Dan Goldman right there, revealing himself to be the authoritarian that he is, that now he has the right to decide what is lawful speech or not. A tweet from Robert F. Kennedy about vaccines that he doesn't like. Who is he to decide whether that's lawful speech or not? But that's the mentality of these people, that they're the arbiters of information.
How is that possibly unlawful speech? It threatens, it's not a physical threat of violence. It's not a threat to try to get people to commit violence. It's not threatening anyone. It's not planning a crime. It's not any of that. It's just words. So there's no way that that's unlawful.
Yeah, it's only unlawful in the minds of an authoritarian. And that's what people like Dan Goldman are.
Yeah. All right. Well, Aaron, that's it for today. I really appreciate you coming on and lending your expertise. I didn't know that you were somehow involved with the Twitter files, so that's interesting.
I mean, again, I'm not playing a very big role, but I have.
No, you're playing a big role. You have
really
your
not.
fingers in all of this.
No, I don't. I've been talking to Matt about it, and
if anybody's responsible, you are. That's what I say. And well, how's Matt Taibbi? I bet he's taking it all in stride, right?
Of course he is, and it's a tribute to the work he's done that this is the response it generated, just McCarthyite, unhinged attacks. And look at him. If you watch him during that hearing, he's trying to maintain his composure in all these really just vicious attacks, and he did a great job at it. He didn't let them get to him and try to provoke him. And it was a sad display on their part. I mean, it's humiliating. If I were like in Congress, I'd be embarrassed at the Democrats' behavior. It's humiliating for them.
And the thing is that other journalists came at him for telling the truth, just like I had that happen. David Sirota, Brian Grimm, when they lied about me and lied about force the vote and lied about McCarthy becoming speaker and all that stuff. Sirota lied about that, not Grimm, but so that's the weird feeling when even other journalists, right? I am telling the truth about politicians and force the vote and using our leverage, and here comes along a guy like David Sirota to try to gaslight me and try to discredit me, like I was lying about it. And so I know that feeling that Matt Taibbi is going through. It happens to me all the time. It happens to you all the time. It happens to Max. It happens to anybody who's doing actually telling the truth about the powerful. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah, and we can expect plenty more of it.
Yeah. All right, everybody check out Aaron Maté at matesubstack.com. Is that what it is?
Yeah, max@substack.com and thegrayzone.com.
Okay. All right, Aaron, now give me a smile before you leave. You look sad. All right?
It's great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, can't wait to have you back in the studio, hopefully soon. If you want to see my stand-up special, become a member at jimmydore.com. It's only $10, and come see our live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, St. Paul, Honolulu, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, and more.